President Trump declassifies all of the memos and the documents surrounding the so-called Russian collusion. And guess what? What we thought we knew, we actually knew. Obama was in it up to his eyeballs. There's a vice presidential debate going to happen tonight, and I'm disgusted. And not simply with liberals and the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media. I'm disgusted by some so-called Trump supporters who are upset. The president's not being humble after having COVID. You stop. I've had it, and I'm about to blow it. In what some are calling an October surprise for the president, he has declassified all of the documents that pertain to the FBI, the intelligence community, what they knew and when they knew it when it came to the so-called Russian collusion narrative, Russians hacking our election. And now that it's all been declassified, the mainstream media is pretending not to care. Conservative media is just simply taking a victory lap saying we already knew all of this. And sadly, most Americans don't even really understand what it fully means. So I'm just going to break it down here really quickly, really simply. We now have memos and emails from people who have been feigning ignorance and feigning their own innocence and talking about how corrupt and how vile President Trump has been. And now we're finding out that what we thought we knew, we actually knew. They knew that this was information supplied by Hillary Rotham Clinton, who purchased it from a spy who the intelligence community in our own country were not allowed to work with, yet she bought that information, passed it off as factual. They knew it was bogus. They took it to a FISA court anyway. They spied on Trump illegally. They cooked up the whole phony, fraudulent Russian collusion narrative, and President Obama and Vice President Biden were kept abreast the entire time. They knew everything that was happening in real time. Period. And they're all in it up to their eyeballs, from James Comey to Clapper, all of them. And the sad matter of the truth is, sadly, other than it will make some political conversation about people who are already in the loop and in the know, mainstream America really won't pick up on it, and sadly, probably, despite the fact it was a coup attempt, no one will be held accountable. No one will go to jail. Hey, we got a debate tonight. Vice President Pence against Kamala Harris. I call her that because you never know which one of hers is going to show up, because she does suffer from, I don't know if it's split personality or multiple personality disorder, or she is just what we all have known her to be, a chameleon. You know, it's amazing as the left continues to wig out over the nomination to the Supreme Court and of her Amy's faith and the fact that how dare she adopt black children. Well, I mean, she has more black children than Kamala Harris does. Camilla from the Bahamas, passing herself off as African American and going to ensure the black vote, has really been a chameleon her entire political life. She slept her way to the bottom, and that's how she got ahead as a district attorney, and then as attorney general, and then as a U.S. senator. And she is responsible for incarcerating and inflicting pain on her own quote-unquote people that she is now supposed to be the bridge to for this election cycle for Joe Biden. So we have no idea which one of the Kamala Harris's will show up tonight and what she'll have to say, because she was so committed when she was running for president to exposing Joe Biden as the racist he was, in particular in segregation, in particular in working with former members of the Ku Klux Klan to get through his legislation to dismantle busing. Funny, how many times has Donald Trump, by how many narrators and moderators of debates, how many times has he been asked to denounce white supremacists? Is Joe Biden ever going to be asked to denounce his ties to the KKK? Is he ever going to be asked to discredit and distance himself from the Democrats through the years from the South who were members of the KKK, like Byrd? Is he ever going to be held accountable for that? No, of course not. I just felt like asking the question because, I like to ask questions that nobody bothers to answer. So this vice presidential debate, apparently they're going to put plexiglass between them. Give me a break. And you know what most of the questions to Vice President Pence are going to be going into this thing. It won't have anything to do with any real substance because Kamala Harris can't argue or debate substance, and the fact that the Biden campaign doesn't really have any. So if she were to talk about policy, they would have to be her own policies because we really don't know what Bunker Joe, well, we know what he's going to do, but he really can't reveal what he's going to do because his handlers haven't given him permission to, and he can't remember it. So we know that the questions directed at Pence, because they won't get any real substantive issues, will be, Mr. Vice President, do you feel that President Trump has handled the corona crisis correctly? Do you feel that enough safety precautions have been taken, even when you're around the president, for your own safety? They're going to try, in a certain degree, and you need to understand this, in a certain degree, they're going to try to figure out if they can't create a wedge, an ideal or policy between Trump and Pence. That's number one. Number two, it'll be interesting to see what Pence does tonight. Now, on the one hand, we're all preparing for it to be, mundane, routine, and boring. But I've said it before, and I will say it again. Pence is the enemy within. I don't renege from it. I don't cower from saying it. I'm not backtracking from it. He is the traitor within. The question is, what will he do during this debate tonight? Will he be an advocate for the president? Will he be tepid in his defense of the president? Will he actually say things like, well, I stand with the president, but I would have handled Corona differently? Ba-dum-bum. I mean, what will Pence do? I'm not one of these sycophants that thinks he is just going to go in there and be Mr. Loyal and support his president and make his president look good. So I have to be honest. I'm very cautious in my feelings going into this debate tonight and what to expect. I will have something to say about it when it's all over. That you can take to the bank, and that you can check back here later tonight after the debate for my feedback and comments. That said, declassification, debates, but really what I wanted to get to is how disgusted I am. If I have one more so-called Trump supporter tell me, why did the president make a fool of himself? And I have to keep asking the same question. What are you talking about? The first time somebody said that to me just yesterday, I said, what are you talking about? And I meant it. And then they told me. And then I've had about a half a dozen other Trump supporters since then ask me the same question. What are we going to do now that the president's made a fool of himself? So I rhetorically now ask the question, what are you talking about? Knowing full well that this is what they're going to say. Why did he have to be so arrogant and blow off getting coronavirus? I'm going to lose it here. I'm going to lose it because I live in a state which does not have a mask mandate, but I live in a part of the state, a county and city that have mask mandates. In fact, our mask mandate was to end on October 31st. City Council met this week, 2 days ago, and decided to extend it until December 31st so that we can all unmask for the new year. But apparently, we have to mask up for Christmas. Bullhawk. And I'm getting ready to organize a mask-burning rally. And no, I'm not kidding. I mean an actual event, a mask-burning rally. I am sick of the muzzle. I am sick of the gag. I want no part of it, and it's a bunch of bullhock. I am sick and tired, and I am totally disgusted with so-called conservatives and Republicans even saying things like, why does our president reject science? He doesn't reject science. You understand that not all the experts agree with each other? You think they do because the media and Silicon Valley are constantly talking about the fact that it's Fauci, and we get the Fauci line, and the CDC line, and the WHO line, and the official climate change propaganda. So you just think that all the real experts, that they're all in agreement. There are literally hundreds of doctors and other scientific experts that are trying to get the word out, why they disagree with lockdowns, why they disagree with masks, why they disagree on the policies regarding climate change. I put a thing on my personal Facebook page yesterday. I just thought it was kind of funny. It was a picture of Woody and Buzz, from Toy Story. And Buzz is pointing and he says to Woody, look, Woody, in California, they now call arson climate change. And immediately I got fact-checked by Facebook. It's incredible. It's hilarious. It's outrageous is what it is. And I actually had somebody who considers himself to be a Republican post, well, if our president would stop denying science. He's not denying science. He's not denying the experts. Do you understand that as the President of the United States, he is surrounded by experts on any given subject all day long? And not all the experts agree with Fauci. Not all the experts agree with the climate change hogwash. Now, do I think that there is something going on with our climate? Yes. I know you don't want me to go there, but I will for a moment. It has more to do with theology than it does plastic straws in landfills. I'm sorry. The Word of God does tell us in the last days, prior to the return of the Lord, the earth will groan. The earth will groan. There will even be a changing of the seasons. Hey, I'm waiting for Ohio to get Florida weather and Florida to get Alaska weather. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump or pulling out of Paris climate change accords. It has nothing to do with farting cows or automobiles or mining coal. But I don't want to get into all of that right now. My point is really simple. Some of you so-called Trump supporters, some of you so-called Republicans, man up. Seriously, man up here a little bit. What the president did when he left Walter Reed Hospital, and I've already covered this in two other monologues, it is no different than when Franklin Roosevelt in his 1933 inaugural address said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. Now stop and think about that. He was talking about the Great Depression. Millions of people out of work. 30% unemployment rate. How many people committed suicide because they lost their jobs, they lost their savings, they lost their businesses, they lost their homes, they lost everything, and they killed themselves? How many families did a husband just walk out on his wife and kids because he had nothing? How many families were destroyed, homes lost, businesses gone? And here comes the new incoming president. In his inaugural address, he looks at all of this pain, this heartbreak, this devastation, this death, and he says, we don't have anything to worry about. The only thing you're afraid of is fear. Get over your fear and let's fix this. The media didn't say, what an awful thing. How can he say that? Does he not empathize and sympathize and understand the real pain people are going through? No, it was a rally cry. That's what President Trump did. He walked out of Walter Reed, and what he was saying was, no, not that coronavirus is not real. Will you simpleton wimps get a grip and actually engage your thinking process and your ability to logic and not just go everything based on feelings? We talk about snowflakes losing it. Some of you so-called conservative buffoons still walking around in your mask thinking that's going to save you. You're an idiot. I'm told you I'm going to lose it. But you're an idiot. The mask of fear. I threw it out. I had one here I was going to use as a prop, but I've already thrown it out. The mask of fear, and that is all it is. It is a prop that every time you see it, you're to be afraid. The virus is here. It won't go away. We keep spiking. It keeps going up. Our city fathers the other night. Well, we have to keep the mask mandate in place because the numbers are still going up. Nobody's in the hospital with it, and nobody's dying from it. But it's working. But the numbers are going up. But it's working. The reason people are not dying, we are already getting herd immunity. And yes, my prediction is millions and millions and millions of more people are going to get it. And they're going to be fine. They may be sick. They may be like the president, be asymptomatic. But they're going to be fine. And that was what the president was saying. We're going to beat this. He wasn't speaking lightly of people who had lost loved ones and family members. He was talking about as a whole, as a country, we are going to beat this thing back. We are going to win. We are going to have the ultimate victory. It was a rally cry. It was a stop being afraid. Stop living in fear. Stop thinking that some mandate is what's going to save you and protect you. Don't you get that? Don't you understand that? Do I really have to sit here and explain this day after day after day? I get why the libloons do what they do. They're psychotic. They have been infected with a pathogen far more lethal than coronavirus. It is the pathogen of liberal ideology. They are willing to give up their freedom for a feeling of safety. Oh, good. We're going to have mass until December. I'm saved. Moron. This is, and as many times as we reason through and talk about it, we've shown video demonstrations. Put a mask on and breathe out cigar smoke or cigarette smoke or a vape, and it comes right through the mask. And just think, the droplets of coronavirus are tinier than the smoke that you exhale from smoking. So if the smoke that you are exhaling, which is actually bigger, molecularly speaking, than the coronavirus, and it can get through the mask, let me just say it how a redneck down south would say it. If a fart can get through my underwear and blue jeans, what's going to stop coronavirus from getting through my mask? I know that's crude and that's rude. And sometimes you have to say things to kind of shock people like, wait, what did he just say? And again, there are so many doctors out there that disagree with Fauci and the so-called experts on this. And every time they post a video, YouTube pulls it down. And anybody that tries to help spread the word, they get censured and threatened to be deplatformed and kicked off. The masses are just swallowing this clap and trap. And those of you that consider yourselves Christians who are conservative, again, where's your understanding of end-time biblical prophecy? I bring it back again about the whole business with climate change. This has all been forecast, foretold, prophesied that it was going to happen. And let's go ahead and just add in there this whole hysteria. You often wondered, as you've heard Scripture taught about the coming of an Antichrist, how will millions and millions of people just follow the word of one person? Well, did you ever even know who Anthony Fauci was before February? And now all of a sudden, we have mass amounts of people that hang on us everywhere to know Anthony Fauci is not the Antichrist. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is how quickly the masses line up and swallow the pill, swallow the hogwash, and become compliant, become complacent. Do as you're told. See, we've seen this in movies. The thing is, the way Hollywood always presents it, it's always a conservative administration. You know, those hate mongers that hate gay people and hate equal rights and hate women. They're the ones that are doing the spying and implementing of fear and going to be monitoring your every move and making sure that you live under mandates and quarantines and martial law and curfews, etc., etc., etc. I watched V for Vendetta the other night for the very first time. Entire country living under lockdown because of a government-created virus. But of course, you can watch that movie because all the evil government people are all conservative. And yet, as this plays out in real life, it is the conservatives, the patriots, fighting to free you. It's the liberals, it's the Democrats who want you living in fear and hysteria and under disinformation, willing to trade your freedom for a false sense of security so that they can have control. Oh, you'll be able to go without your mask once they're in control. As long as you're doing what you're told, you can take the mask off. That's the reward. And gullible people are lining up for it. And those of you that call yourselves conservative Christians should understand all of this. So as you see it play out before you, you're not supposed to just blindly go along and get upset every time the president pushes back on the false narrative. You should be joining him on pushing back of the false narrative. Not going along with it. Not repeating it. Not continuing to promote it. That's it. That's what I've got for you. I'll have more later after the debate. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like. Spread this video faster than coronavirus.